hope you're going to build a business. Know it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 2%er Show, the real-time, real talk of the journey in business.
We wanted more, and we got into business to do that. He was doing lemonade stands. I used to paint houses with my friend. And when we got a little bit older, I used to sell comic books or anything I could find that I got as a present or my parents got me. I would try to sell it to somebody else that wanted it. One funny story is like painting houses in high school. We decided to paint houses, me and one of my friends, to save money to go to South Beach.
Yeah.
So what I did was focus on my strength, and he used to work at Home Depot. So what he did was he took all the paint gear for free from Home Depot that we're supposed to rent. And I had a lady that I used to work with in a dentist's office that she mentioned she wanted her house painted. And I said, hey, I've done that before. I do that. I have a business that does that on the
Sure
side.
you do.
She goes, yeah, you do. I was like, yeah, I do. Meanwhile, I just painted my rooms and stuff from the houses. I didn't paint the whole house.
Right.
And what I did was I went on my Word document and I created an invoice, and it was called South Beach Painters. And I put a little logo of a little, what do you call it, palm tree?
Right.
And I said, hey, this is our invoice. We're going to show her that we're legit. We take the equipment from Home Depot that we're supposed to get back in 3 days before his boss finds out and paint this house. But later find out that the house is the outside of the house, not the inside. Yeah. So that turned into a whole fiasco. But guess what? We made $800 cash.
Nice.
Cash, because we didn't pay money for that equipment. $800, and still to this day, that house is still painted perfectly. We pass by, I look at it once in a while and see it. That's the stuff that I wanted to do because I was interested in. I was more. What fascinated me wasn't $800. You know what it was?
What was that?
Take a guess what it was.
The thrill?
No, that Word document. I felt legit. I felt like a legit business because I had an invoice that I created in 5 minutes.
Wow. That's
what thrills me was I owned that for that one time because we never painted a house ever again, but because he got laid off from Home Depot. But
I wonder why, right?
You wonder why, right? But that's what I loved. I loved creating. I loved having something that I could call my own. And I didn't start out that way. We did things here and there, but my background, like what I've, working wise, I worked for companies like AT&T selling cell phones. I worked in finance for many years.
What did you do in finance?
Selling insurance, selling investments, 12, 15 years, even more than that. I can't remember, like doing that. That was the biggest grind of all. That's where I learned a lot.
Right.
They customer service jobs, marketing jobs, calling over the phone, cold calling. Oh my God, those are the worst times I ever had was doing those cold calls in that marketing job. It was supposed to be an internship that turned into a job. Horrible, but
telemarketer.
Oh my! It was not necessarily telemarketer because we were calling people who already want us to call.
Okay.
It was for like focus groups, but it was still to me going crazy calling people I didn't know.
Sure. But
different things like that. I've done so many different jobs in different areas that what I realized was there wasn't anywhere I wanted to go in those jobs, but I learned so much from each and every one that I use now in business.
Nice.
I mean, we even worked together in finance for
that's
a while. We met in finance in the grind. I actually trained him.
That's right.
I actually trained him in finance because I was the hot shot in finance until he came in. And Jay came in, and he was like the hot shot for a good 3 months.
Yeah, Bobbie Ezra was probably like the prince of the office for, 2 years or so?
2 years, yeah. I was like the wonder kid.
He was like the wonder kid. Everybody else was much older,
I was a young one,
He's the young buck over there until I came along and started blazing a new trail for a good 3 months.
Yeah, but the one thing that I knew that he didn't, because of my 2 years experience, that he was going to crash and burn like me.
Yeah.
In the sales game, I'm telling you, it starts out great until you realize that, wait, you're broke the next day if you don't have another sale coming in.
Right.
And once that warm market comes out, and you got to figure out where you're going to get these leads from, where you're going to get customers from, like every business has the same problem.
Right.
I ran into that same problem in finance, and I knew Jay was going to hit the same exact wall. And because he hit that wall, guess what? That's how we became friends.
Yeah.
Because I understood.
We're trying to figure out what was going, what to do next. And this is what's crazy about our journey is we came into the business world officially as adults in an interesting time. You're transitioning from what previous generations grew up in, the industrial age type of system, where everything worked you just go to school, go to college, you go out and there's a big job waiting for you. I mean, I remember getting into the finance field when when the sky was falling. This was going back, 2007/8? 2008. 2008, I got in that summer, started getting licensed, was blazing a new trail. And next thing you know, like the sky was falling, like the financial markets were falling, like the real estate market had bursted. Like there was so much change going on in the world that to say that at that age, freshly out of college and thinking, this is going to be my future. So many things changed. Even the way you market and communicate was changing, and it literally changed overnight when all these markets crashed.
Jay could see that. I didn't see any of that. Me, I'm so optimistic about everything that I was determined that I was going to make it in the finance industry. Even though that really wasn't my passion, I was more interested in the fact that how I could help individuals in the finance industry, until I years later, realized that that's not about helping people. At the end of the day, it's about a product or service. Now, they may be good for individuals, but it wasn't something that I was really passionate that I could do that, because I really didn't see myself growing a huge business in that industry. Right. So I was just optimistic that I would get into business. Jay was seeing how the world was changing and the internet was coming in and the crash of everything. They're like, wait, something's got to change. I didn't see any of that, because I'm more of the optimistic, like, hey, let's just keep it going. Something's going to happen. It'll work no matter what, even though it was going down. The world was crashing from beneath us. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you stayed there a little bit longer. I actually made the jump to higher education. Working within, a community college to, reinvent myself at the time, to figure out what's my next move in business, because I saw that industry collapsing, business really dried up in that industry around that time frame. So it was just a transitional period, and then on the side, always, looking to do the next flip, the next little hustle. I was always a great promoter. Even in college, I used to promote, college parties and even nightclubs. I actually learned a lot of business from people that promoted nightclubs, and a lot of marketing and promotions from them. Mind you, none of these people went to school for this. They just went out and did it. They just went out and knew how to throw a good event, and were really good at it. Some things are ethical that they do, some things are not, and sometimes in business there's that line, right? There's that gray line where, do you push the limit on how you market? Do you step over that line? Do you not, But ultimately, you always want to do what's right for the customer, for the client, 100% of the time. Because if not, in today's world, you will be found out. Like they'll
probably in seconds.
What was that?
In seconds, and they look it up.
In seconds, they'll call you out. They'll call you out on your BS, whether you're a big company, small company, whether it's just you as the sole proprietor. You will be called out for not doing what's right. You always want to be honest and straightforward with people. Make sure that doesn't hurt your brand, because ultimately you want to, build your own personal brand, your own company
exactly. Brand. Like when you want to build your personal brand, look, you may not even know what you want to do. You just know, like we did. I knew I wanted to be in business. I knew I wanted to have a business of my own. I had no idea which one to go for or what to do. Right. I did like real estate. I still love real estate. I'm still learning about real estate. I just didn't know anything of how to get into real estate. Now that's why I study Robert Kiyosaki. I study that man because I think he gives good information, and I feel that he's a good source to learn from. Right. But what happened to me was, and I think happens to most people, is as they get dealt in life, where they're working, it influences where they're going to be going forward. Because I wanted to get into business, and I was luckily, I got into the financial field because I had no experience prior. I had a bachelor's degree in business, but no finance degree. They took me in and they taught me finance, and I thought that I could take that and turn it into a business. Mm-hmm. But in reality, that wasn't my passion. My passion at the end of the day was to own a business, and I didn't just want to sell financial services.
It just didn't happen to be in that industry.
It just, not that it was bad. It just wasn't what I, at the end of the day, I realized it now, like that wasn't really what I wanted to do. It was helping people in a certain way, but not where I wanted to go. And I couldn't own a business that way. And I look back and I want you, and for those who are listening, if you're working a job, take what you can get out of that job and use it. Now that job, if you really want to have a business, don't look down on it. You spend 8 hours a day there. Don't let it drain your energy. Use it and say, hey, what can I get out of this job? The money they can pay me to survive right now? And what skills am I learning? Like, just to give you some background, like during college, dental assistant. Because my friend worked there and they had some part-time hours I could do after school.
That's usually how it works. That's who you know.
Right? I didn't know anything about that. They didn't want to, but I needed to make some money. You know what I learned being in dentistry that helps me now to this day? How to deal with people. Nobody likes going to the dentist. People hate the dentist. So me being an assistant, I had to learn how to calm people down, talk to them, relate to them, make sure they were calm so the dentist could work on them.
Right.
They hated me. They hated us coming in. And by the time I had to make them happy during and after, for years, 7 years, learning how to deal with that irate people coming in there. I learned how to smile no matter what. These people come in there crying and hate us.
Yeah.
Learn that from there. AT&T, I learned a lot from AT&T. I didn't really care about, I like technology, and don't get me wrong, right? And I like learning stuff. But what I learned with AT&T is how to stay positive. Because let me tell you something. If you're a salesperson out there, or you work in retail, I give it up to you. That's one of the hardest things to do long term. Retail destroys you, in my opinion. If you're doing it, God bless you. If you're doing it and you want to get out of there and you don't see how, go for it. Because those hours and what they put on you and the constant with customers coming in, you either break down or you get stronger. And I got stronger dealing with the negativity and all this, and people need to do this and just constantly thinking that they're right. I learned a lot just from doing that. I learned how to get past that and learn how to sell something on the fly. Yeah. I got 20 minutes to sell you something when you come in and looking for something else.
So you were schooled like the cutthroat way.
The cutthroat way. Yeah. Same way in finance.
Right.
Learn all that sales, those tactics, everything, which at the end of the day I don't think really work.
Which is really just one way to sell. You know what I mean? It's just the way that they're teaching you there. And then later on we find out there's many ways to sell, because hence why we're both marketers.
Yeah, not one way. There's many ways to sell.
Right.
We were taught one way.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It's not the thing.
Right.
Even to this day now we know, because of the internet you see there's other ways to sell. You got to brand yourself. You got to, there's email marketing, there's internet marketing, there's social media, all this kind of stuff.
Which, mind you, that we have experience in all that because, again, from a young age, we were those kids that always wanted to do something in business, always wanted to sell something, flip something. Even recently you've been flipping things online as well, right?
Yeah, because I realized that hey, I know we're in business too. We didn't make it. We're not making multi-million dollars either. But guess what? You got to keep your business alive and do whatever you got to do. So what I'm learning and what I learned a little bit from Gary Vee too, but I don't let things go to waste. If I see something in my home or something that's I'm not using, guess what? Why should I keep it and throw it away when I could turn it into some other cash?
Right.
Because people look, I don't make a lot of money. Well, how am I going to get my business up and running? Hey, sell something you're not using.
Right.
If you notice something someone has that is popular and they don't know about it, buy it from them, sell it off again. Any money's better for your business. Anything you could bring in for your business is gold.
Yeah.
Don't look down on $20.
I mean, and the same thing here. One of the other things is I experimented with even real estate as well when it came to having a little condo. Kind of actually what Robert Kiyosaki talked about, the way his wife actually started out. I had a little condo. I was renting it out, and I actually was making decent money, when it was all set and through. At the end of the month, I was coming home with like $200 pocket, cash from from the tenant, But the problem and the lesson I learned is it was just one property, So what happens when that one moves out? You were scrambling to get somebody else, and then obviously they didn't give you notice. They didn't give me notice, and they just packed up and left one day. And so now I got to figure out who to put in there, and thus some of the struggles that we've been through that we can give you some advice on, and likewise if you've learned things
or some similar stories that you have done too.
Yeah, let us know. Reach out to us. We'll be able to help each other out on our journeys.
Yeah, that real estate one, you thought you were a mogul at this point, right? Making.
Man, I thought it was a big shot because you're working your full-time job and then you're making what you do to pay the bills, but then at the same time it's you get this extra check coming in. And
don't get me wrong, $200. I'm not laughing at the $200 calling it a big shot.
It's how it was made.
It's how it was made.
Right.
You thought you were a big shot because how it was made. However, you learned that to go further, that it's just one. You were just, what happens if they left? You didn't think about that, did you? You didn't think about, it's just a one bedroom.
But you know what? That's how you learn. I mean, the thing is, the way I look at it is you learn by making mistakes. And I've heard many, many big business people, say that. And to me, it wasn't taking a risk. A lot of people think that, going out and getting another property, getting tenants and things like that is a risk. To me, it was just like, it's a learning experience. It's like going to college, People go to college and they put all this money down because they're in hopes they have a better future. Unless you're going into STEM fields, in
or
the
specifics.
Science, in the science, technology, math fields and things
Accounting.
like that. Sure, there's state regulations and requirements for you to go into those fields, but if you're paying all this money to go, to just learn regular business, you actually learn better business out there in the real world, like taking some extra money and putting it down on a property and start renting it out. Like that's a way to learn business, how to learn real estate. And you learn from those mistakes and what not to make later on.
But I give it up to you. And that's what we want to share with everybody.
Sure.
He wasn't afraid to do it, and he did make a mistake, and guess what? Now he learned from it. What we want to tell you is don't be afraid. If you're afraid that's going to happen and you don't want to do it because you're afraid, what if I lose a tenant? No, we just give you some advice. Maybe look for something that has more than one in there, 2 units or something that you could get so you have 50% chance that it's going to be successful. Put the odds in your favor, right? You could read that in a book, or you could hear us telling you that from our mistake because he messed that up. But what I look up to him. I look up to Jay because he did that. And one of my goals is to own real estate, right? I want to have a section of my business, 2% of real estate, where I have a bunch of properties that, and I help people to learn how to get into properties from learning from somebody else. Because I know that that's going to help me with income. It's going to help me with some stability. And it's just something that I personally like to do. I didn't have a background in it, right? And all the jobs and stuff that I've done from my history doesn't say you should be a real estate person, but I say I should be, know about real estate because you can, right? And I want to tell everybody, if you have interest, try Robert Kiyosaki, listen to some of his stuff, all his books. He's got really good stuff on that. Right. That's one main person that I listen to besides a couple others. But
who's another one? I think you mentioned Gary Vee. Vaynerchuk?
Yeah, he's not much into real estate, but he's more on he keeps me going. And kind of positivity, and the fact that he don't take no, he tells you how it is. Right. He really tells you.
That's because he was I guess raised up in North Jersey, right?
Yeah, he was raised up in Lodi, I think, or something like that. Or Clark, I forgot what it was, but it wasn't far.
We're technically in Central Jersey, but many people only think there's a North and South Jersey, but there is a Central Jersey.
Yeah, it's a big part of Jersey,
and we get the best of both worlds, North and South. If you go a little farther south, though, it's funny how it just changes completely. It's a different world.
Yeah, it's a little. I think it's a little slower.
It's like you're in the country,
kind of,
and their accents actually change.
Yeah,
which is funny.
It feels like you're another like a country or state because they just think differently. They act differently. They talk differently.
Yeah.
But most of our lives we've spent in New Jersey, New York.
Yeah.
Right? But our background is just an average background,
right? Which,
like I said in the beginning, I believe could be the most detrimental thing for everyone out there. Right? If you're coming from rags, guess what? You have nowhere else to go. But if you're maybe in a middle-class family, guess what? You think that you have something stable, that it's safe. Maybe, if you're younger, your parents are helping take care of you. Good. That's an awesome thing.
Right.
You got to find something that motivates you to get out of that. Like, you got to want more to get out of that bubble of being middle class. The person who has no shoes and, they're in the streets and they're worried about their life every day, guess what? They want to move. They don't care what happens because it's either live or die for them. Here, if you're middle class, you're not worried about dying. You have your food at home. You have a house or apartment or something in a semi-suburban nice area or something like that, right? I think that's a dangerous place to be. And I want to speak to those who are maybe in that. Don't settle for that. There's a lot more, but it might be harder for you because you got to figure something else. It might not be a negative that motivates you. It's got to be a positive that motivates you.
I think one of the things that motivated me was to realize the sacrifice my parents made to just get me to where we were at. You know what I mean? Because their parents really came from dirt poor. From
nothing.
Their countries. You know what I mean? So the fact that they then were the first generation here to grind it out and actually try to live that American dream is what eventually inspired me as well to realize I got to take it to the next level.
Exactly.
You can't stay where you're at. You came from that kind of background, middle class, and just live off your parents forever. Like it's I'm telling you, there's going to be a point where they're going to need you.
They're definitely going to need you.
Eventually provide for them.
The way our economy is and the way our system is set up, they're going to need you because things are not the same way when they grew up and how they made their money and all these, how they grew up with pensions and all these savings and all these different things are totally not the way anymore. It doesn't work that way anymore because our economy is totally shifted. They're going to need your help and you have to be something sustainable to support yourself and them. And for those who are younger that are listening, for the young crowd, one thing that with the middle class also that I felt didn't help me was that I couldn't ask anyone about business advice in my family. Nobody had a business. My dad didn't have a business. My mother didn't have a business. Not that I love my parents. They did everything they could to get that house and get those things that I needed over my head. But I never knew who to go to find someone that was in business. So if you have a mentor, if you have someone that you can go to about business, stick with them. Do exactly what they tell you to do. We're here. That's what the 2%er, show is about, is to get people who are in business and give us their feedback and learn from them, while we also can teach things that we've been through too. But to have some place to go, because I've always felt that, where I didn't have someone to ask questions. Like if I asked my dad now,
they couldn't
how to make money, he's going to tell me?
Go get a job.
Go get a job, right? Oh, well, find the benefits. I already have one, right?
Yeah.
How are the benefits? Oh, it's awesome. You have good benefits. In my head, I'm like, what the hell is the benefit? I don't have a benefit from that. I'd rather make more money and pay for my old health insurance if I could, because money, I could do something with money. I can't do something with the health benefits. It means nothing to me. So to them, I'm at the top of my game. I have a roof over my head, right? And I can support my family, and I have a job. That to them, they're like, oh, that's great. And I have an education, because they didn't have an education. They never graduated college. But that's their cap. They can't give me any further advice. So I have to go out and find other advice, or just like we did.
Right.
We just went for it. Let's try this. Let's go do this.
Swapped it up and did whatever it took, and that's how you sometimes learn. But again,
do that.
If you can find people that have made mistakes, listen to what mistakes they've made. Don't make them. Seek out mentors, in whatever it is you want to pursue. In our case is business, and entrepreneurship. So we've always been plugged into different kinds of leaders out there, business leaders, entrepreneurs that have made it, and even to some that have made it to a respectable,
even small business
degree,
owners. We
right?
know
Like
a bunch of
even
small
small
business owners that
people.
just make it for their family.
Like one of our mentors is like probably made about $100K to $120K a year, which is not big money in today's world, but he did it in his own business, and it was his goal to just make that.
Yeah, we're like 20 years so far, still running.
And he still got it going, and he really doesn't have to kill it as much, he still has to do a little bit here to maintain it. But that's what he's always wanted. So in my mind, that's a 2%er.
He did 2% because he's happy.
But he is. He's happy.
He's happy. He's happy helping clients. He's happy with his office. He's happy, with his wife, right? They're happy, and that's what he always wanted to do. And he didn't have a background to do that either. But he's working in that industry, and to me, right? That's not something I wanted.
Right.
To make $100,000 in my own little, small business. That's an awesome thing. If you want to do that, then you should go for that, right? And guess what? Making $100,000, most people don't make $100,000.
No.
Right? We all see everyone's making millions in YouTube and this and that, whatever. Guess what?
That's fake it till you make it.
Number one, half of it's fake it till you make it. Number two is it's a rare, small percentage that are making that money and can sustain it if they don't screw it up financially themselves. People kill to make $100,000 a year, and I give it up to him. And that's what he's a 2%er because that's what he wanted to do, and he spent years doing it. And he's been doing it for 20 plus years, and that's what we want you to get to, and we want us to get to, but to whatever level you want. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't do that or it's too small or too big.